Welcome. Today we're going to break down a really important academic paper. It offers a powerful new way of looking at the lives of Pakistani tribal women, specifically as they're depicted in Jamil Ahmad's novel The Wandering Falcon. So, what's special about this paper? Well, it focuses exclusively on a piece of research that fills a pretty big gap. You see, Ahmad's novel has been looked up before, but this study is actually the first to apply the specific lens of postcolonial feminist theory. And by doing that, it uncovers some completely new insights into the characters' struggles and their agency. Now, for any of you who are researchers, we wanted to make sure you have the full citation right here. This is important. The paper is published in a Scopus-indexed open access journal, so, citing it will add real value to your own work. And the best part? You can download the original paper completely free. Just check out the link we've put in the description below. Okay, so here's how we're going to walk through this. First, we'll look at the paper's unique theoretical approach. Then, we'll get into the historical context and the novel itself. After that, we'll dive right into the core analysis. And finally, we'll wrap up with the paper's big conclusions and its really powerful recommendations. All right, let's get into it. The paper's main contribution, really its biggest takeaway, is the specific critical lens it uses to analyze the novel. And believe me, that lens changes how you see everything. The whole study is grounded in something called postcolonial feminism. Now, what is that? Well, it's a theory that really pushes back against a one-size-fits-all approach you might find in earlier feminist thinking. The core idea is that the experiences of women in the postcolonial world are just fundamentally different. And here's the crucial point. Unlike some Western feminism that talked about a universal sisterhood, this theory says, wait a minute. It argues that women in the post-colonial world face a unique kind of struggle. It's like they're caught in a vice. On one side, you have local patriarchy, and on the other, you have the lingering systemic legacies of colonialism. It's a double oppression. So to really understand the lives of the women in this novel, we first have to get our heads around this idea of dual oppression. It's a collision of two incredibly powerful forces. These women were trapped, really, caught between two worlds. On one side, you have the deeply rooted local patriarchal codes of Pashtunwali. And on the other, you've got this legal system inherited from the British, the Frontier Crimes Regulation, or FCR. This system basically gave all the power to tribal elders and left women with absolutely no legal way to fight back. And this FCR, man, it cast a very, very long shadow. Think about this. For more than 70 years after Pakistan's independence, this colonial-era law kept an entire region and its people, especially the women, completely outside the protection of the national constitution. And this isn't some distant ancient history. This system was only dismantled in 2018. Okay, so with that historical and legal context in mind, let's turn to the novel itself, the one at the heart of this paper's analysis. And the author's background? Well, it's absolutely key to understanding the book's power. The author, Jamil Ahmad, had this fascinating position. He was an outsider by birth, but he gained this incredibly intimate insider knowledge from decades of working as a civil servant in the region. And that unique perspective is what gives his writing so much credibility and depth. He could describe the customs in detail without, being bound by them himself. Okay, now we're getting to the real heart of the analysis. The paper takes that post-colonial feminist lens we talked about and uses it to systematically break down the novel. It highlights several key themes of oppression that the female characters face. The first, and probably the most brutal form of control it looks at, is the practice of honor killing. This is where women are murdered by their own relatives, often for breaking some kind of social rule, all to supposedly protect the family's name. And this quote from the book, it just brilliantly shows how the state itself was complicit. Thanks to that FCR system, it shows the absolute helplessness of women like the character Gulbi Bibi. She realizes that even the state authorities, the very people who are supposed to protect citizens, they just refuse to interfere with these brutal tribal laws. It leaves women utterly and completely abandoned. And it's so important to remember that this fictional story is rooted in a very grim reality. According to a report from Amnesty International, around 1,000 women and girls are killed in so-called honor crimes in Pakistan every single year. So the violence you read about in the novel, it's reflecting a real ongoing crisis. The paper then moves on to another major theme, marriage. An institution that we think of as a partnership is often stripped of all choice and becomes a purely financial transaction through the practice of bride price. And this quote from the book is just chilling. It reveals this deeply embedded cultural belief that a woman's value and even the respect she gets from her husband is tied directly to the price paid for her. In essence, she becomes property. The life of the character Shura Kai is just a vivid, tragic demonstration of this. Her story isn't just a single tragedy, it's a relentless cycle. She is bought, sold, abducted, and then just discarded. She's completely trapped in a system that sees her as nothing more than an asset to be traded. And what reinforces all of this systemic oppression? It's a near total lack of opportunity. You look at the staggering gaps in education and employment, and you see how it creates this forced dependency. It traps women, making escape from these cycles, well, almost impossible. So, okay, after laying out this truly overwhelming system of oppression, where does the paper's main argument actually land? What's the big takeaway? Let's get into its crucial findings. And this, right here, is the crucial point of the entire paper. It completely refutes that old stereotype, one often perpetuated by early Western feminism, of the submissive, passive, third-world woman. No, Ahmad's characters, people like Gul Bibi, who literally runs away from a forced marriage, they are constantly fighting back. The resistance might be tragic, and it might fail, but it is always there. They have agency. So, based on all this analysis, the study doesn't just stop there. It concludes with a powerful call for real, concrete action. It recommends speeding up legal reforms to finally dismantle the old patriarchal jirga system. And it makes another critical point. For the feminist movement in Pakistan to be truly effective, it has to be more inclusive. It has to actively bring in the voices and the struggles of its most marginalized tribal women. At the end of the day, this research is about more than just one book. It leaves us with a really powerful question about the role of storytelling itself. It pushes us to think, how can a novel, when we look at it through the right critical lens, become more than just a mirror of reality? How can it become a genuine catalyst for real social and legal change? We really can't recommend enough that you read the original paper. The depth of the analysis is just remarkable, and by engaging with it, by citing it in your own work, you're supporting vital research that helps give a voice to the voiceless. Thanks so much for joining us for this breakdown.